return of the Mac. I'm not a Mac, but I'm back. Lil Nas X is pregnant. I'm excited. I sent a gift over to him. It was literally an emoji gift. Or, no, gift. He is pregnant with his soon-to-be, I don't know if it's a boy or a girl, but his album. That's what he's naming it. All right, so Lil Nas X is trolling everybody in the world, especially the black community and anyone who hates gays. Pretty much what's going on is that he has his album coming out, his debut album, which I didn't even know that he did not have a debut album out yet. Pretty much this is, I guess he had singles out. This is the way new generation is. And they just put singles and singles and singles. And I think I talked about that on the last album where, Michael Jackson sold albums. He didn't sell just singles. If you sold an album was like $15, $25 and, you got the whole shebang. Nowadays, you can just buy a single or stream a single. And, it takes, I think, a lot to get an album off its feet and get running. And he's doing it in a way where, everyone's freaking out. Not everyone. There are people who have sound minds like you and I who are, appreciating this guy. I appreciate him. I appreciate him because he's not only poking fun at these people and at these homophobic people, but he's also influencing young LGBTQI people to be themselves. And that's one thing that Donald Rawlings, apparently the comedian who I know knows Martin Lawrence, and I know he must have ran into Eddie Murphy. And who else is dressed in drag as a black actor? Who else? To say out loud, I don't know what I'm going to be able to tell my child because they see Lil Nas X with a pregnant belly. Tell them it's a joke. Speak to your son. Actually engage with your child so that they know that who they are is who they are and who you don't have to be. You don't have to pretend to be anything. You could take the time to let them know, or even say, hey, Lil Nas X is trying to poke fun at Texas people who are banning abortions for women. You could do anything, but what you decide to do is push hate. And that's the most dangerous thing we have because we do, and for instance, let me just say this. Y'all know gay people. Y'all have them around you. Your wives know gay people. So you've met gay people. So to act as if Lil Nas X is going to turn people gay. What is he, a gay vampire? Like I said in the last episode, there is no gay fairy that goes around sprinkling gay on people and then now you're gay. That's not how it works. It's not how it works at all. I just don't get it with people pushing this. There's an agenda. They're trying to teach our kids to be gay. That's dressing up with a baby stomach on you is not the definition of gay. Let me tell you, right? Lil Nas X, who he's been on Twitter trolling people, trolling these homophobic people, I should say. And I don't ever see him be mean to people. That's one thing about the guy. I never seen him be overtly mean to people. And I don't know about his teenager past or what he used to do on Twitter. I don't really care. I know about what he does right now. And what he does right now is something to be proud of. And the gay community, especially the black gays who say, oh, that's too much. He's doing too much. How dare you? You've never had anyone to look up into or look up to. And now you have it. Now you have what they said couldn't be done. A gay person on the top of Billboard. Now you have it. And him kissing someone will make you go back to what your mother and your father taught you about the Bible and religion. This man's out here spreading love and he's not hating on people. He's spreading love, nothing but love. And it just seems like it's the only way for people to live is to live in hate. Lil Nas X says, stop using y'all little booger nose kids as shields. Let me read that over. Stop using your little booger nose kids as shields. Hate gay people with your chest. And that's true. It's just like any racist thing, where people are pretending that they don't dislike black people, but they truly do, or anyone else. But we know when we talk about racism, it's more with black people. Racism is worldwide and racism is culture-wide. But, don't you want the same thing when you know that someone's being racist? Don't you want them to just come out and say it? What's the problem? What's really the problem? Now you're saying my child is in danger. Maybe if your freaking child didn't have a phone at 6 years old, he wouldn't have the danger. Maybe if your child was actually paying attention to his father or his mother, he wouldn't just have any kind of interpretation of different things. But y'all seem to think, and especially, like I said, Donald Rollins, you must know gay people. Lil Nas X just came out, 3 years ago? So how can he have influenced all the gay people on earth right now? How? How is it possible? What did the gay people or LGBTQI people learn from Lil Nas X 25 years ago? It doesn't make sense. You're just attacking someone just to attack someone. What you could do is actually speak to your child. Lil Nas X says, I performed at one elementary school for free 3 years ago, and y'all will never let that shit go. I kissed one man on TV once, but since y'all homophobic, y'all been equating it to sex ever since. Again, what does kissing have to do with actual sex? Can it lead to sex? Yes, you and I know that. Does your child know that? No, because you don't want to talk about sex with your child. As if children are not out here having babies out here. As if there's no, the thing is that we know each other. You know yourself. You know what you were interested in at 13. You know what you were looking up, trying to find things on the slow internet. So you leave your kids at home on the internet all day, but you're worried about Lil Nas X? You don't think your child's going on Pornhub when you leave the house? You know it. But you think Lil Nas X is the problem. He's just a target. He's another target that people just want to point their finger towards, essentially, and hate on gay people. But what you don't know what you're doing is you're breeding more hate. And that child that you say you're protecting, more than likely, if you notice something and now you're trying to attribute it to Lil Nas X, that child was already gonna be gay, because that's where it starts. It starts when you're born. It doesn't start when, at 13, I just want to be. No, you already feel those things. You already feel a connection more towards something else. You don't know what it is, but you have a connection towards something else. So to act as if a performer on Instagram, on YouTube, that you never met could influence your whole entire view is crazy, because he can't do it to me. He can't make me be ungay or make me be whatever that you are in the LGBTQI spectrum. But he can only influence people to come towards this spectrum. Doesn't make sense. And then you have people out here really pushing the fact that children or the black community is under attack. What happened when Norbit came out? Was the black community under attack then? The Nutty Professor? Where was the black community then? Were they under the house? No, they were going to see those movies. So you mean that's what it is. All those people who watched Norbit, who watched The Nutty Professor, who watched, Big Mama House. They all turned gay. Every single one of them. The females too? Is that how it works? Because I don't really know. Because I want to understand this magic of turning people gay. Texas is losing their goddamn mind. President Joe Biden spoke out recently about Texas, saying that the Supreme Court's ruling overnight is in an unprecedented assault on constitutional rights under Roe v. Wade. Complete strangers will now be empowered to inject themselves in the most private of health decisions. The law does not even allow exceptions in cases of rape or incest. Joe Biden says that I'm launching a whole of government effort to respond to this decision, looking specifically to HHS and DOJ to see what the steps the federal government can take to insulate those in Texas from this law and ensure access to safe and legal abortions protected by Roe. If you don't know about this story, and that's the thing when we're talking about things like Lil Nas X or people like Lil Nas X, and we're talking about Lil Nas X pretending that he's pregnant, we have actual women out here who are being under attack. And where's Donald Rawlings for that? Where's the black community for the women that are being attacked by Texas? You know, I personally can't figure out if you have such a huge problem with Lil Nas X and what, what you feel is right for your child and things of that nature. What about the abortions? What about what's going on in Texas? A lady said, with my implant, I'm very likely to have an accidental ectopic pregnancy, if anything, and I would literally die if I was unable to have an abortion. Another lady said, I have an IUD and I don't get my period every month. So if I got pregnant, it could take up to 8 weeks plus for me to find out. The 6-week abortion ban is terrifying because people could do everything right to prevent pregnancy, but still not know until it's too late. Abortion is healthcare. And that's right for a lot of people. Abortion is healthcare. Or abortion is a way to stop you from having a child you shouldn't have. I'm not saying people should be out here having sex and just getting pregnant and popping over to the abortion clinic. But things happen. Should you be more careful? Yes. But if y'all won't even take care of the kids that come out of these women and then push them up for adoption or foster care, y'all won't even take care of those kids. Look how many kids are in the adoption centers, foster programs. Look how many kids are just wanting a home and no one will take them home. But you have a problem with people having abortions. You won't even take care of a child after it comes out, but you have a problem with people having abortions. At what point do you care? Or stop caring, I should say. What Joe Biden does now will define his presidency. I think that he will have to overstep just like Trump did. But in the name of the people, I think that you have to do something, Joe Biden. You can't let a law like this go on. You know, I don't know what's going on in Texas. They even have a ban on, they have a freaking ban on public camping. That's what they're calling it. Public camping, which is really a homelessness. You know, it's really that. It's a ban on homelessness. It's a way for these people to go around and harass, and here they come. I don't know if you hear that. They hear me talking about this. From Texas. They're coming for me. But it's just real sad, right? About what goes on in this country where people's rights are being taken advantage of or pulled right from under them. And then you worry about abortions. You worry about what happens before the child gets on earth. You don't worry about anything after. We don't have any kind of structure for people out here suffering from homelessness. But we're more worried about who's having an abortion. We can't even take care of American people. But abortions are the issues. I mean, Texans are continually being fucked over by lawmakers of today. And now even of yesteryear, I mean, over 100 years ago, cowboys in power decided that they didn't want to be spared of working with other states to create electricity or power for their citizens. So even now, Texas have to pay for historic mistakes. Texas lawmakers continue to pretend that climate change isn't real and that science can't be right. I mean, just talking about Texas, right? I just want to bring it back for 1 second. because I don't know if you know, but earlier this year, Texas was in a very bad winter storm. And this storm pretty much rocked anyone who was near the poverty line or close to it, right? And many other people, but the ones who were most affected were people who are people of color or people who are near, I guess we want to say poverty, right? If we talk about infrastructure in this country, you know, there was a chance that storm even didn't have to happen. I mean, they had their equipment frozen over, and that's why people died, because no one decided to spend money on infrastructure, on ways to save and protect the Texan people. So what I want to do is play this clip talking about this infrastructure thing, and when we pay attention and not pay attention, what actually happens to the American people.
But it should have been anticipated, because this has happened in Texas before. In 1989, the same kind of Arctic storm caused natural gas plants to have the same problems, resulting in rolling blackouts. And the same thing again in 2011. And both times, federal commissions recommended utilities ensure reliability in extreme weather conditions, and specifically for the state government to create winterization standards for these energy sources. The Texas Utility Commission did make those standards, but also made them voluntary, so most companies didn't winterize. Private companies like these don't have an incentive to spend their money preparing for unpredictable and infrequent events without being required to. But
I mean, what? Without being required to? Does anyone not have or see a problem with that? That these companies are collecting taxes and not paying enough taxes, and then allowing people to die also at the same time. I mean, if you could fix something, why not fix it so that we could have people contribute back to our communities, right? Instead of losing their homes, losing their jobs, losing their cars so they won't have transportation. And all you have to do is fix one little thing. I mean, Texas being the way it is, you know, I never wanted to move to Texas. I do want to visit Texas, definitely. But there's just a lot going on over there. I mean, they're trying to rewrite history to make it seem as if the KKK was a good thing. I mean, is that what we really want in this society? I mean, perhaps maybe Texas should leave the union. And I only say that because they can. And anyone who wants to stay can stay. Listen to this. This is a clip about can Texas succeed from the union? I don't know how many people know about this, but I think it's pretty interesting.
Can Texas secede from the Union? America's second most populated and second largest state is always the first to remind you that it was once an independent nation, the Republic of Texas. Unlike California's 3-week, almost accidental flirt with independence and a hideous flag, the Republic of Texas was a real country with its own presidents and laws and currency for a decade from 1836 until 1846, when it joined the Union to become the 28th state, thankfully evening out the number of stars. This happy marriage led pretty much immediately to the Mexican-American War over the question of how big Texas was. America, as the victor, got to decide the answer.
Of course.
Very big. While Texas gave up its complete independence to join the Union, it didn't give up its independent streak and filed for divorce along with several other states a scant 15 years later. This domestic dispute was settled not with flowers, but with force, something that many are still grumbly about today. But
That's speaking about the civil war. I was going to say the civil rights, but we're not still fighting for that. The civil war was what this man is speaking about, and what he's speaking about, grumble grumble of today, is because people want to fight for their AKA or so-called heritage.
History aside, in modern times, could Texas still be a real country? In other words, could Texas succeed if it succeeds? In terms of population, an independent Texas would be the world's 46th largest country with 26 million citizens. And those citizens would make Texas the 13th largest economy. So the new Texas Republic would be comparable to Australia, except in the size department. But what about the federal money that goes to Texas? Those interstate highways don't build themselves, you know. For a majority of states, independence would be a financial problem. Mississippi, for example, gets $2 from Washington for every one it sends in taxes. So an independent Magnolia Republic would be bankrupt almost instantly. But not Texas, which gives more money to the federal government in taxes than it gets back. There's no reason why an independent Texas couldn't keep those highways paved and give its citizens a small, happy Texindependence Day tax cut. So from a financial perspective, the new Texas Republic gets a check.
So then go. I mean, if this is how you want to act, right, in America, if you want to not care about when things happen winter-wise or extreme temperature-wise, if you want to arrest Uber drivers for driving women to the abortion clinic, which is a thing, a part of this new bill that they have out. If you want to arrest people for not having a place to sleep at night, being hungry, and call it a public camping rule. If you want to rewrite history so that children of today don't know that the KKK was a symbol of hate, a symbol of evil, then why don't you just become your own little thing? Because you don't need America to tell you that you can. By the laws that they were, or the rules that they made up, they absolutely can. This country has become a sides country. It's almost as if we're not a full country or an entire country or a collective country. It's almost as if this is wanted. You know, I already talked about how they pit the poor versus the poor, and I'm talking poor meaning anyone who makes under $150,000 a year. You know, I want to put you in that category because the super rich are super, super rich. The super rich, I believe, are 400 times more richer than the average American. So when you talk about what's going on with Texas and how their citizens are under attack, you got to wonder, why won't the federal government step into this mess, pretty much? It's a mess down there. I remember the lady from Lovecraft, she was going to put her next season out, and HBO canceled it. It had a map of a separate America. I don't know if you've seen that, but if you saw it, it had a map of America that was pretty separated, which I think was pretty telling of how it is out here in this world or in America. And then they canceled the show. This is a show that had, 18 Emmy nominations. It was a big show. Everyone was watching it. But it's canceled because it was going to start talking some real shit. I think that the only way we're going to ever get around racism is to define racism as pretty much a mental disorder, right? It's kind of like the only way people will admit that they're racist or get to see how they were being racist in certain moments or discriminatory in certain moments, and that we could find some kind of solution to help them. I'm not saying shock therapy, right? But there must be something that's done. That's if people want it to be done. But we do know that there are powers that be that like to keep this race thing going, who talk about people's freedoms going away and get everyone riled up. You're not taking my freedoms. You know, I don't even know why you speak like that. You're not taking my freedoms. You shouldn't be worried about black people if you're racist. You should be worried about the Republican Party who's taking you for a ride. I mean, Democrats have their problems too. But I really can't imagine being white and poor in America, struggling, white and poor, and still voting for a party that's not really helping you at all. They've not passed anything that will help you. I think that this is a crisis, this racism thing. You know, but then look at all the other things that are going on in Texas. I mean, look at how it's going on around the world. If this abortion ban, well, it is going into effect, but this abortion thing is not going to stop in just Texas. They're already talking about how it's going to come to Georgia. So who's next? If women don't come together and if men don't stand behind women, this is going to be it. This is going to be a problem. We're leading down another way where division and hate is number one. I read you those tweets. There are plenty of tweets from women talking about what this abortion will do to them. If you can't side and realize with women on a point like this, you're the reason why this world is the way it is. If you want to say it's God's way, well, then why don't you protect the kids that come out of women once they come out? Why isn't our education higher in the world? And if you're going to pretty much decide that, you know, this hate group, which has been allowed to survive in America for this long, wasn't bad. I mean, you got to wonder, you know, who's making decisions like this, right? I think they valued the KKK back in 1923. They valued that group at $12 million, which in today's world you would hear and you'd be like, $12 million, I'll take $12 million. Now, don't get it twisted. But back in the day, $12 million compared to today's money, $12 million would be valued at $191 million. So imagine that much power. And imagine what you could do with power of $191 back in 1920. You know, how much can you spread hate? How much could you make sure heritage was never lost after the Civil War? It's just amazing what we will do here in this country. Who will do it to, instead of making Americans number one. We'll go around the world, fight for democracy, but Americans here are not being taken care of. But who is getting taken care of is the Taliban. A story that will not go away because it shouldn't, because we must talk about what happened with Afghanistan. We must talk about what happened with the Afghan army and all the money spent in Iraq. The Taliban got a bunch of new toys. They paraded around military equipment paid for by you and I, the American taxpayer. Yes, those taxes they rip out of our checks, which provides funding for a $200 million a day war, which resulted in more people who hate us. You know, I'd like to visit certain countries and be like, hey, I'm from America, and not get laughed at. I mean, being black, they probably ask, why would you rep that place anyway? I'd say it's complicated and move on. But yes, the Taliban got some new equipment as America's troops finally left Afghanistan. U.S. military officials worked with the Taliban just like Donald Trump did when he released the Taliban leader Abdul Ghani Baradar and 5,000 other Taliban prisoners. Let me repeat that. Just like when Donald Trump released Taliban leader Abdul Ghani Baradar and 5,000 other Taliban prisoners during his term. Yeah. The president released the current leader of the Taliban. That's your white boy, America. Those military soldiers worked with Taliban leaders to evacuate over 120,000 people, 6,000 Americans. And now we have this.
Look at this. This video shot by Taliban forces. It shows a parade of U.S. armored vehicles just outside of Kandahar Wednesday. And right on top of there, that is the black and white flag of the Taliban. And take a look at this. Flying overhead was a Black Hawk helicopter. Now, it's not clear how much U.S. hardware is now in the hands of the Taliban, but certainly gaining control of the skies with this kind of equipment is a major boost for them. Now, taking power is one thing, but keeping it is quite another. And the Taliban does hope to form a new government. A spokesman has said that they'll be announced in the next few days. There have been talks over the last 3 days. What is quite clear now is that there won't be any non-Taliban members as part of that government. Cecilia?
Yeah, James, there have been so...
I mean, these guys, we go over there, right? Attack their country. And you gotta, sometimes, you know, what's been shown to us as Americans is that you support our troops, and which we do. Okay, let's not get things twisted here. You support our troops, you support what the government does. That's what you're supposed to do. That's what you should do as a citizen, right? But how can you in this country? How can you really support going over to a country and demolishing over 1 million people's lives because they attacked September 11th and knocked down our buildings, they attacked the Pentagon. I mean, I get it, right? There were over 5,000 people who died on 9/11. But what we did, the legacy that we left after 20 years of killing, bombing, I just say, God bless America. Because those people make me nervous, right? The ones that hate us. Because there are ones that were born through that 20-year process that hate us. They said that when they brought over those 120,000 people via military equipment planes, that they don't even know where some of them went. You know, they're free people. I'm not gonna say that, but if they take them and bring them to another country, I think that we should know, or at least the military should know, where they're at. You know where I'm at. You're listening to this, ready to ban me on Apple. But you won't know where people are from a country we attacked for 20 years. It's a shame. I mean, they really fumbled the ball when you talk about what happened with Afghanistan, what happened when they were leaving Afghanistan, and how the Taliban became leaders again. How we spent $200 million a day. And back home, people are struggling in the streets, can't afford to buy Pampers, can't afford to buy water. I mean, we shouldn't have to buy water, but our water is contaminated. Got to buy a new car because the roads suck. Roads tear your car up. And we spend $200 million a day on a war where nothing got settled, where the exact same people who were in power are now back in power. Sirhan, who I talked about last episode. I have a correction. Sirhan, whom I spoke of on last episode, is not out yet. And apparently now the Kennedy family is divided over his parole. I mean, I must have made it sound really good, because they got him. They locked him right back up. Well, they didn't lock him back up, but he's still trying to get his parole. And now the Kennedys are saying that some of them are saying that they have an issue. Some of them are saying let him out. He's been in there for so long. But I just wanted to mention that correction because he is not out. The FTC, the same FTC who, along with many others, tried to destroy the Queen, Janet Jackson's legacy, now have even more nothing to do. They are investigating why McDonald's McFlurry machines are consistently broken. First of all, as a vegan, I go to the store, buy some amazing ass non-dairy ice cream, leave it out for a little bit, and then I eat it. I don't know who needs to hear this, but bitch, go to the store. That's a McFlurry. Do we really need our tax dollars going into the Federal Trade Commission, finding out why McDonald's, a private company, doesn't fix their McFlurry machines? Ding, 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 it's called supply and demand, people. Also, it's literally like free promo that makes people want to go to McDonald's, makes people want to ask if the machine is broken or not, and then they still spend their money at McDonald's anyway. The Federal Trade Commission is interviewing McDonald's franchises about how often they're allowed to work on their McFlurry machines when they break down. McFlurry machines are a breeding ground for bacteria, so they have to be cleaned every night and frequently break, leading to all the jokes. I mean, what are you cleaning and breaking at the same time? Simmer down. The company that makes the machines, Taylor, are historically the only ones who've been allowed to fix the machines, leading to either delays or employees bypassing the machines' insanity and security measures. Recently, a company named Kitsch developed a diagnostic device to help allow franchises to fix the machines themselves, and a federal judge issued a restraining order against Taylor to prevent them from dismantling one of Kitsch's devices to learn its secrets. So this is a whole thing. It's a part of the right to repair movement over whether people should be allowed to repair things they own, like tractors or Apple products, which would mean they're talking about how if you own a McDonald's, you can't even fix your own machine because McDonald's bars you from doing it and doesn't allow you to do it. I think it's a weird thing. I think it's very strange that we're now enforcing the FTC to go out and investigate why McDonald's ice cream machines don't work. You know, we talk about a lot of things that's not being spent money on. I mean, childcare. You can't even pay for childcare if you're in this country. But we're spending our money on the FTC making sure McDonald's ice cream machines work. This is where we are, people. These are the things that are important. When we should be worrying about people like Kyle Rittenhouse. Yes. If you don't know who Kyle Rittenhouse is, he's a murderer. I think he was 17 at the time, but now he's 18, and he killed 2 people. Recently, he was brought to the courthouse to make his first appearance, and this person who killed by race and by discrimination and hate, he was protected by a swarm of police as he was arraigned for his trial starting in November. The Home Alone kid you always thought would be a serial killer shot 2 people dead after being given water by the police and a wave as he walked past them with his rifle ready to shoot some niggers. Rittenhouse, who was bailed out for $2 million by people who were not his parents. So it makes you wonder where he got the money from. Oh, I know. Probably part of the money from the KKK, who has over $200 million in the bank. Makes sense, right? You can pay this guy. He's being treated like a hero by these people. Or, Second Amendment advocates. I'm a Second Amendment advocate, and I would never put my money towards this man. But I feel like I know who would. The 18-year-old was brought into court via a secret entrance and protected by a swarm of police officers. Now, when I tell you that you must look this up and see how he was protected, I think that it's pretty disgusting. I mean, just like how he was given water by police officers as he was walking to go and kill people. White supremacy has been protected for far too long. We don't call it out. We don't want to talk about it. But something must be done. Because like I said before, I truly believe it's a mental health disorder. Take a listen to this because this is how he was brought into court.
There are still so many security concerns surrounding him in the case. The teenager was brought in through a special non-public entrance.
A special non-public entrance because there's security feared for him, the murderer.
For today's court hearing.
All right, the state against Kyle Rittenhouse.
In this courtroom, extra police posted is now
All white.
18-year-old Kyle Rittenhouse.
All white police officers, by the way. Just like that guy who killed, I forget, there's so many, who killed a black man and then didn't want any cops to be black that protected him. It's funny how a murderer can ask or have requests, right?
Appears in person for the first time since the pandemic. Outside, a swarm of sheriff's deputies on guard in a double murder case where the accused shooter has become an icon for gun rights advocates.
Not for me. He's not an icon for me. He's a murderer. And a murderer is being protected by the blue. Back the blue. I mean, this 18-year-old was brought into a court via a secret entrance and protected by a swarm of police officers. Like a swarm of bees protecting their queen. Like making Americans really believe in spending $200 million a day on a war in Afghanistan for 20 years instead of fixing infrastructure in our own country. Like Dick Cheney shooting off a man's face and getting away with it. Like J. Edgar Hoover going down on a big dick after an FBI meeting where they plan to kill Martin Luther King Jr. Like OnlyFans reversing their decision to ban porn from their site after it was built on the backs of people of color. Like a white woman calling the cops on a black bird watcher who is simply bird watching. Like Trump really getting all those white people to believe he was going to be the racist in chief, and instead he just funneled more money and made more deals for his made in China businesses with the Russians and other known rapists. Like black people protecting white Jesus. Kyle Rittenhouse was more protected in the Capitol building on January 6th when terrorists struck our country in a failed coup attempt based on an election that was proven not to be fraudulent. I want you to take a listen to what Kyle Rittenhouse said when he saw some people stealing.
New tonight, prosecutors in Kenosha County say they have video of Kyle Rittenhouse from 2 weeks before he shot 3 people last summer. They want to use that video as evidence in his murder trial to show his state of mind. Rittenhouse is not seen in this video, but prosecutors say he is heard. He's heard wishing he could shoot at people he believed were shoplifting. Here is that video in its entirety.
It looks like one of them has a weapon. Bro, I wish I had
start shooting rounds at them.
So if you didn't hear that, he goes, "Bruh, I fucking wish I had my AR. I start shooting at them." Like I said in the last show, we're currently endangered, I kind of think, by this Grand Theft Auto generation, which are kids that grew up on Grand Theft Auto and believe that killing is the right way. I mean, just based on that alone, it shows that this man, this 18-year-old man, since they always make everyone else a man, you know, he's not innocent. He's a 18-year-old who knew he wanted to always kill. You ever think about some of those shootings that go on, like in Chicago, where no one ever knows who gets shot or who did the shooting, or in Georgia when people just pull up and shoot and get away with it and never ever get caught? I sometimes wonder, and I think that it's white militia groups going out there killing people. I mean, it can't be too far-fetched, because they go into a community. It's just like the last Purge movie. I think, no, not that last one where the Forever Purge, but the Purge before that, where they actually were going into communities and killing people. You know, I don't think that doesn't happen, or doesn't not happen. Because you have to wonder where the guns come from, right? And a person like this, Kyle Rittenhouse, who at the time was 17 years old, he left his house. You know, mom, dad said, "Where you going?" "Oh, I'm gonna go to the range." Ends up in another state and then kills people, sent to jail, $2 million bail, and bails out. Right now, Kyle Rittenhouse is playing PS4 or PS5, probably. And the people who died, just memories. Dolce & Gabbana had their Autumn Motor Show staged in Venice over the weekend. And many celebrities were in attendance, including Helen Mirren, Jennifer Lopez, Megan Thee Stallion, Jennifer Hudson, who has that new Aretha movie, Respect, which I haven't seen. I don't know if I want to see it, because I feel like when I hear Jennifer Hudson, yes, she can hit the notes, but I don't feel nothing from them. From recently. Heidi Klum, Kris Jenner, and Kourtney Kardashian, Ciara, Doja Cat, the race trader herself was there. Normani, Diddy, Salty, a bunch of other people, whatever. But the whole point of the matter is, and to be funny, you know, there's a bunch of black people who were invited to this because Dolce & Gabbana is under fire. And they've been under fire for some time, but it seems like people just keep forgetting, you know, what people do. Kind of like how Doja Cat sat in a room of white people and they all use racial epithets about black people, and she said and did nothing. And now she's even voguing and doesn't even protect gay people. You know, she never speaks up for gay people. I guess it kind of like makes people wonder about some of these celebrities, right? That you need to be seen so bad that you'll do anything, go anywhere to be seen. I mean, back in 2012, Dolce & Gabbana sent white models down the runway in earrings reminiscent of colonial blackamoor statues, which depict black people as racist caricatures. Gabbana, in 2013, attended a party in blackface. 2013. That was 8 years ago. 2015, or 2015, that's what we should say, right? 2015. D&G state that they oppose the idea of gay couples adopting. 2016, D&G released a $2,000 shoe called the Slave Sandal. The Slave Sandal. Oh my God. 2017, Dolce & Gabbana responded to the outcry over their support of Melania Trump with a rather tasteless campaign touting boycott Dolce & Gabbana. T-shirts made with explicit purpose of trolling the brand's antics. In 2018, they were called out for launching a racist ad campaign that depicted an Asian model attempting to eat Italian dishes with chopsticks. Is it too big for you? A voiceover male, of course, condescendingly queries as the model fails to pick up a giant cannoli using chopsticks. I mean, chopsticks are I like eating with chopsticks, by the way. That was just a random thought. I don't know how eating a cannoli or a plate with chopsticks would work out. I think that's what these people are talking about, and it makes no sense for Dolce & Gabbana to have put that out there like that, right? After an IG user posted about the racist campaign, Gabbana allegedly slid into her DMs to write, "China, ignorant, dirty, smelling mafia." 2018, Gabbana seemed it appropriate to comment she's so ugly, whatever. The whole point is that here's this designer that people will go out and buy and not even do research on them. You know, I was talking to some guy at a bar, and I had sat down to pick up some food from this vegan place, and you know, I asked him if I could sit there next to him, and he said, yeah, because that was really the only seat. There was two seats that were open, the only seats open on both sides of him. So I was like, oh God, which side do I go? So I went on the other side and sat and chatted with him for a while and talked about how, you know, there are certain companies in the world where they have power and they still, you know, preach or breed hate in the background without people knowing. He actually turned out worked for Chick-fil-A. And many black people go to Chick-fil-A, many gay people go to Chick-fil-A, and I very much question why. They have donated to hate groups of LGBTQI people for plenty of years. So it's like, how could I eat food like that? You know, I don't know if they're pumping it. No, let me not be a conspiracy theorist. I don't want to do that. But my point is that you have companies who subscribe to hate, and the public kind of just turns and bats an eye or has a blind eye to it. And then they wear, you know, their clothing or they go to the stores every day and shop, and, you know, if you won't stand for nothing, you'll fall for anything. I think that's a key thing to think about. T-Mobile recently had a data breach. 50 million Americans were compromised. T-Mobile's security was recently described by a hacker as to be so low and vulnerable. Again, we spend $200 million a day in Afghanistan, and 50 million Americans were compromised. I stress that point because the U.S. has been hacked several times. Early this year in Georgia, there was a hack of a pipeline, and Georgians didn't have gas, or there was a fight for gas for several days. I was in it. I saw it. I'd never really seen so many gas stations be without gas. It was really incredible. I mean, it wasn't my first gas scare. I was in Hurricane Sandy, and I saw a lot of darkness there too. You know, where people were fighting and getting into things because, you know, we didn't have enough gas. And you got to just wonder, how many times can we really be hacked in this country where we don't spend enough money on national security. You know, if we took 10 years off of fighting everyone else's battles, what would America really and truly look like? You know, if we actually truly protected our infrastructure, if we truly protected our things, you know, the hacker was able to provide apparent evidence to support his claim of being responsible for the attack. And, you know, this is just some guy sitting in a basement, you know. He hacked T-Mobile with one router, he said. He called the security awful. I mean, we could really be in danger here. No one's paying attention to home. You know, not that they aren't paying attention. They watch and listen to what we do, but we're not being protected. And I advise y'all to call everyone, you know, local senators, everyone, call everyone and ask them, what are they doing to protect Americans? And they're going to ask you, what do you mean by that? What are y'all doing? Being in Georgia at that time, it was wild. There were people ready to fight. And, you know, especially in Georgia where guns, you know, everyone has a gun pretty much. You never know what you're going to get. If you're filling up and someone's trying to steal gas from you and all you're trying to do is get gas for your family. It's a dangerous place. And for 50 million people to be attacked by a hacker, just some random hacker, you know, it's not just on T-Mobile. I mean, I think the federal government should look into why their equipment and what they have as security measures were so weak. The last thing I really want to talk about is relationships. I kind of feel like, you know, I've met and talked to all kinds of people. I've also dated or gone on dates with various types of people, and I just feel like relationships right now in this climate that we're in, it's just not a good idea. You know, I get it. You know, you're lonely, you feel depressed, you feel like there's nothing else. But is a relationship with someone else really what you need? Shouldn't it be a relationship with yourself that you should really be seeking? I recently had a discussion on Male Media Mind about rejection, how we need to cope better with it. But it made me think of the rejection within the Black LGBTQI community in the way of how it's harder for Black people, especially Black men, to be themselves. Starting with homophobia at the top of the broadcast, and pretty much talking about it here in a way. You know, Black men, again, are not allowed to be themselves, especially with their sexual orientation, which allows them to be hindered in a way, you know. It doesn't allow them to flourish. Coming out as a Black person comes with facing the church, then a family, a parent, the community. And, you know, I can't even imagine if you were a so-called less masculine man and you lived in like the projects, you know, the type of abuse you must get or receive, and people just say, you know, man up or something. And then you have like the DL lifestyle where I really feel people use sex for comfort as a way to ease through the pain, if not for food or gambling. We're just going on a time where if we don't allow people to be themselves, we won't ever know who people really and truly are. I never knew who I was, you know, for some time. I remember when I was probably 10 years old, where I first really learned about the word gay. And it wasn't even from like Lil Nas X, because I was 10. I was on a family trip, and my aunt had said to my little cousin that I was gay. And she wasn't in front of me. She wasn't, they weren't talking about me in front of me, of course. But, here I was coming around the corner and I heard them talking, and that's what I heard. And I was like, well, what is that? What does that mean? And, I don't remember what led up to it, because obviously I don't know what they were talking about. But, I feel like parents and people know when, their kids or whoever else is going to be gay, if you say it that way, right? Because I don't think you are. But at that time, to hear that, especially when, I still like girls and, I definitely had an attraction to boys, or I didn't understand really, I always knew that I had some kind of attraction to both, that my attraction wasn't limited. And hearing that, it really didn't do much to me. It made me question certain things, but it left me in limbo, And I think a lot of men, especially black men, are in limbo because they don't know what to do or how to be. You look at a thing like Lil Nas X, and I was reading some of the comments, and, one guy is like, protect your sons. You don't even know your son. You call your son bruh. You don't even hug your son. But you talk about protect your sons. We got to do better. We got to do better, because the road we're going down, the hate road, hate island as I like to call it, it's much more dark. And tell someone out there that, when God decides what he doesn't like or likes, is the only time we should be talking about other people. Is the only time we should be demeaning people, or not demeaning people, or letting God demean people if he decided to demean people, which I don't think he would. Because the God I come from, the God I love, is the God that made the trees, that makes the flowers, that makes these birds whistle every morning. That's the God I love. That's the God I appreciate. The God I know is not a hateful God. And with that, no further questions.